This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 100th episode of Beyond the Veil with me, your host, Norman Meredith, my co-host, producer, Ed. My guest co-host is Craig Martell, author and friend of mine, and possibly popping in is fellow podcaster William Nighthawk, if he can get his technical difficulties sorted out. And we're going to try to spend between 40 minutes to an hour covering some of the various topics that we talked about for the last 2.5 years on this show. We're going to cover the disclosure about Trump's doing currently. We're going to cover things like the Colorado Bigfoot sighting, the Ohio Bigfoot exodus, New Jersey drone sightings, which still are going on, the Miami Mall incident, the Las Vegas alien incident, and just talk about different views from our guests. All right, everybody. Craig, welcome to the show again. How you doing, buddy?
It's great to be on, Norman. A long time ago, we walked through naming a 10-book series and tried to get those right names on those titles, a post-apoc series, which of course is right in your wheelhouse. And then we have that cryptid view of the world. And I just wrote a new series of letters.
Really?
With a cryptid kind of view. An Alaskan mystery is what it'll be called. It'll be available from Epistolary. And it'll be a letter campaign where they send 2 letters a month to over a 6-month period as it outlines like 2 pen pals talking as they're engaging and as they learn more and more about what's going on. So that's I love keeping my fingers in the mix of the cryptid and UAP, new term, UFOs so last week, I guess, UAP world, because hey, I love science fiction and this is what it's all about.
Oh yeah, I can't use that term UAP because to me, when you say unidentified aerial phenomenon, to me you're talking weather storm. I'll stick to the classic personally, and I'll stick to it to the day I die, is unidentified flying objects, because to me that's what they are. They're flying objects. If you're talking about something that's an aerial phenomenon, I'm thinking weather patterns or other things similar to that, but that's me. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, what about when they, especially the new revelations, show them hitting the water at full speed or coming out of the water at full speed? Are they flying then?
I talked with another author one day. We were discussing the possibility of craft going, I'm trying to think of the word that makes them be able to go transmedium, I think it's called, where they go from air to water. And the only way they can do that is to create a plasma field over the craft in order to enter the water safely and at speed.
It's kind of like what the Russian torpedoes do, where they shoot bubbles in front of the torpedo and it rides in a pocket of air as opposed to trying to force its way through water.
I've heard of that, and that's one of the things I used as my selling point to him for unidentified flying objects or unidentified submerged objects was a plasma field where the Russians were using the air, in order to get a craft to move at such large or high speed, because like a torpedo, you only got so much time before that bubble's going to collapse. But if you have an infinite power source and you can generate plasma around your craft, the sky's the limit, I think, But that's my opinion.
Yeah, there's some way, because it's not impacted by the change in external medium, like air to water, which should be. It's like, I think once you hit terminal velocity, it's like hitting a concrete block.
Yeah.
So if you fall 10 stories into water, you better be breaking that water. Otherwise, it's like slapping in. If you try to do a belly flop from 10 stories, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Just because you're smacking flat. So how could anything be traveling at any kind of speed and enter the water without being crushed? And it's not because of extra materials. It's because of something that changes the resistance of the water, just like the air bubbles on the Russian Squall torpedo.
I'll have
just create a method to get through there, whether it's plasma, whether it's magnetic fields, whether it's something that we don't know on how they do it, or they create a black hole and it only appears like they go into the water and they actually go transdimensional.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I would possibly think even of some form of inertia drive or anti-inertia drive that would make that type of travel happen. You know?
Yeah, if you had inertial dampeners, or if you had artificial gravity, you wouldn't need inertial dampeners because you've already overcome that force and that stress on the body. All kinds of good stuff and opportunities to learn if we can reverse engineer one of these little babies.
Yeah. What you got for me, Ed?
So we've got William Nighthawk on as well. William, can you hear us?
I sure can.
All right.
Hey,
I don't have a camera view for you right now. Currently, it's black, but I don't know if there's a way that you can fix that on your side, but he's definitely here in audio as well.
Hey, William, it's great to hear from you again. Thanks for being on the show once again to join us for our 100th episode and talk about all things cryptid, unidentified flying objects, and things of that nature. What we're going to talk about, like we were talking earlier, is opening is the Colorado Bigfoot sightings, disclosure that Trump's pushing, the Ohio Bigfoot exodus, New Jersey drone sightings still going on, the Miami Mall incident, the Las Vegas alien incident. So I'm going to get some feedback from you, from your perspective as a former Special Forces soldier and Native American shaman, and, you know, from your perspective with your podcast of what you may have talked about and what your insights are on this. And especially disclosure, because that's going to be interesting, because one of the things that Trump is going to be talking about, supposedly, or allegedly, is alien bodies, and some of these bodies are right up your alley, reptilian. You know that?
Yeah, I'm up for that. As far as the disclosure thing goes, they're only going to tell you what you want to know if they want to disclose it. They're just, you can pretty much just count on any type of disclosure to be maybe 30% of what they're disclosing from what they actually know. And that's been my experience being in the military too, and even outside the military, and having a father that was in World War II and came out of World War II with several Purple Hearts.
Right.
So, and we've talked previously about some of the stuff that he saw when he was with Patton's 4th Armored Division over in Germany.
Right.
So I've always been one to say that if they're going to disclose something, it's going to be something that they found out during World War II and a little bit afterwards. So
you think we'll get late news basically on Roswell and some of the crashes that occurred post Roswell, and actually before Roswell, because there was a crash prior to Roswell in Arkansas that people don't really know about. You're familiar with that one, ain't you?
Exactly. And there was also one a long, long time ago that a lot of people don't know about, but the Paiute and the Dene people, the Navajo people, know very well of in legend, and that is in Utah. And I'm not going to disclose the location, but there is supposedly still a craft or an object, something that is, how do I want to say this? It's not fully non-biological, if I can put it that way. So, it's going to be a living craft, and it's there underneath a certain mesa in Utah. Interesting.
Very interesting. What do you think about that, there, Craig?
I love it. I don't think we give Native Americans enough credit for what they know about the sky people, I think is what they were called, and what the paintings in the desert show, people with helmets and stuff that they absolutely would never have known about hundreds of years earlier, 100 years or 1,000 years ago, but there they are. There's somebody wearing a helmet, and it's not a headdress. That looks different. That's portrayed different in their drawings. and the wall paintings. So no, I love that we're tapping in. I'm 1/8 Chippewa actually, but
Really?
that's I never really had much relation with the other Native Americans where I grew up in Iowa because the Chippewa were farmers. They never had reservations or anything like that. So I claim it, yes, but I didn't really live it. It's not like those in the West. And Utah, what a great place. What a beautiful state. And I hope that something comes out of that.
It'll be interesting. Now, I've heard that the new Area 51 is supposedly located in Utah. Would this have anything to do with that UFO there, William?
Well, all I can say is that there is two locations that a certain fraction of the military is keeping a very close eye on. If I disclose, well, let's just put it this way: special access programs of the military. You probably heard of that before.
Yeah.
And they have ways of finding out things, and they have knowledge of things that have existed for a very long time that they haven't disclosed to even the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a shame that our own president can't learn this information. It's always kept to some degree away from him. He is the elected leader of our country and per se the free world. You would think he'd be in the know for this stuff in case if something occurred. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, the whole thing about it though is that there is several levels of clearance above the president's authorized level, and I had at one time access to 4 levels above the president, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I was seeing teletype come across, and communications coming across, and visual things that I've seen, experienced on board, and it's never going to be fully discussed and disclosed. That's what I can guarantee you. They are dealing with forces that they can't comprehend. Okay, we interpreted it as being indigenous people in the old days as being spiritual or supernatural, certain deities. That's why the Navajo made the Kachinas, and the Hopi have the prophecies of the blue star.
Right.
There's so many different ways of talking about these things that you have to literally include the Native American history with these beings. And when you deal with that type of a thing, Norm, you have to deal with the type of you have to lump the interdimensional stuff in with the supernatural and the spiritual, because we had no idea about interdimensions at the time back in the old days.
Right.
So of course we're gonna call it something spiritual.
It's interesting you brought up the spiritual angle, because Vice President Vance was asked on a talk show about alien entities, and he gave a very interesting response. He put it as them being angels and demons. What do y'all think about that?
As above, so below.
Yeah. That there are more angelic and demons than aliens. What do y'all think about that? What do you think, Greg?
Oh, I'm a big fan of that. When I heard that, it came as a revelation to me that he would make such an announcement, not from the political standpoint, but that faith comes into play, and that he would describe them in such a way, because I'd like to think that they're there watching over us. I'd like to think that the aliens, as well as maybe angels, are the ones who stopped nuclear attacks and nuclear miscues, because I know missiles have gone offline for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and they couldn't get it back on until a crisis had passed, and then when they got them back online, it's like, okay, we don't need to launch now, and I think that falls right in line with what Vice President Vance was saying, in that there are people who are looking over us that won't let us kill ourselves. Onesie twosie, yes, but not the complete eradication of life on Earth. They're not going to let that happen.
Gotcha. What about you, William?
Yeah, I feel the same way, and it is something to be said about this whole disclosure thing. They have been making promises to my people since 1492, and even a little earlier. So to us, it's nothing as far as us to worry about, because we know that these beings, these biological entities, whether they're interdimensional, whether they're supernatural, whether they're divine, holy inspired, they have done more good in this world, in the physical world, than humanity has done.
What do you think, Ed?
I don't know. I don't know how to respond to this. I'm just a dry sponge trying to absorb everything of everybody's varying intellect level.
What do you think about it being maybe angelic and demonic instead of...
It's highly possible. There's always some type of theological aspect to everything, really, when you think about it, foundationally. Mm-hmm. If we really believe what we believe is really real, mm-hmm. It has to be.
Yeah.
Definitely possible. 95% probable.
Ed, throw up some of the pictures we have for disclosure.
Here's the first one.
Now, that's the famous Tic Tac that was did by, was it the Nimitz Carrier Group back in 2019? And then I got one or two extras, just another gun sight camera of a UFO off in the distance. And this one, I think, was off in Syria, another gun sight of multiple UFOs picked up. And I'm amazed at some of the different stuff that's being released by the government now under Trump. But like you say, we're only, it's like they're showing us one thing and hiding the other behind the, like a carny salesman, They're going to show you one thing but hide something behind the curtain for something else. What's your thoughts like that?
You referring to me or somebody else?
I just open answer. Whoever wants to hit up first.
Well, I'm gonna take a couple sips of coffee while you guys answer this, and then I'll get my answer in there afterwards.
Okay. What do you think, Craig? It's like a form of misdirection. They show you a little bit to what you whistle and hide the rest behind the curtain.
I have had plenty of the government, and everything depends. I'd like to think that they're releasing enough to sate the people who are looking for the information, and the raw releases, a lot of the raw documentation shows that there's a lot of material there,
right? But
also that a lot of it was discounted throughout the years. Hey, there's no aliens to stop it, and they'd shut down the office and they'd start it back up. So having worked in some of those buildings, I'll tell you that I'm amazed that not all of it has been lost, that there's still some documents left over, despite the Records Retention Act. Yeah, it's nice. It's a law. But when my job ends tomorrow and I've got 3 days worth of work packing papers, guess what? I'm going to do about half a day's worth of work packing papers. I'm going to get a pizza and I'm going to hang out the last half of the day, and then I'm going to walk off and leave. And that's how it is. Right. And everybody's in about the same boat. So I don't attribute it to malice that they may not have all the documentation, but the fact that they're releasing videos as well as some documents, hey, we'll take what we can get, because it does support a lot of different theories. And one of the most significant points about the Tic Tac video is that was taken with IR video, and it shows that the craft itself is cool. So there's no hot exhaust from it, and that is that's what's amazing, is that something that's so cool could generate any kind of momentum, thrust, and acceleration and deceleration, all without getting hot. So that is something that is probably the most significant off the Tic Tac video, in addition to obviously pulling G's and things like that. We can do that with some of our technology today, but it can't be manned.
Right.
So was this manned in some way, or was it unmanned? Who built it that they could have a cool energy source, as opposed to, you know, our stuff, even stuff that's dampened, is all generates some level of heat.
Exactly. What about you, William?
Well, I refer back to my statement earlier that when you're dealing with what I still call UFOs, by the way, because I won't use the term UAP because that's a weather phenomena as far as I'm concerned.
We're both in the same boat.
And you know, as far as the biological crafts go, when it's like I said on my podcast, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I did a podcast on portals, and you know, I broke out the diagrams and I showed people the old Native American tree of life on the turtle's back, which represents the Mother Earth and the tree, right, while the layers and the trunk of the tree is your main conduit to all the dimensions, all the levels of heaven, whatever you want to call them, above our heads that we cannot see with our naked eye. Okay? Sometimes these beings and crafts are caught with digital technology and cameras because the human eye can't see it. Right. Okay? We have a limited capability of a visual and audio spectrum of less than like 1% on the scale. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's something like 0.0035%.
Right.
You know? So, you know, when it comes to our capabilities of interpreting what we're seeing in the skies or even on the ground and under our feet, it's a very, very limited scope. Right. So, hence bringing in the old legends and the old stories of the indigenous cultures around the world that talk about these crafts coming down from the heavens and transforming and looking like a star coming down in South America and transforming into a giant standing in front of them. Well, you know, they at one time there is a ancient description in the biblical aspect of things that these were angelic beings.
Right.
You know, and these beings were called literally the like the seraphim, the oraphim, and stuff like that, as
right.
far as biblical descriptions of angels.
Right.
Well, some of those are fallen angels.
Okay.
And when we get into that whole aspect of things, like in South America and Peru for one, and Argentina, and I can't remember the other one, but there was 3 countries down there where the indigenous inhabitants talk about these legends of these beings coming down looking like stars and transforming into giants in front of them. Right. And asking favors of them. And if they didn't answer the way that the being wanted, they would deny them things, including life.
Wow.
So you would think that that would have to be some kind of an angelic interpretation or a spiritual interpretation in the eyes of the indigenous, because they're not going to know if it's coming from the sky above them or if it's coming through a portal from another dimension. You know, it's all generalities, you know, type of descriptions. Right. And that's where the spiritual aspect comes in.
Okay.
So,
well, we're going to have to move on to some other subjects. We don't want to run the whole show on disclosure and related. So we're going to move on to our next topic. You remember the Colorado Bigfoot sighting? That was a big stir for about a week, 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
I got a couple photos there. Remember.
We got a couple UFOs next.
UFOs?
Mm-hmm.
Show me.
And then we have some grays. We have this right here.
Okay, I think that was part of the UFO disclosure.
This one here?
Yeah, it was disclosure.
And then these.
That was the aliens that they're talking about, bringing out.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It was my
no,
fault.
We got a few lizard people after that one.
Yeah, that was because lizards might be mentioned in the disclosure files. That was just a representation of the lizards.
And now here is what you're seeing.
Yes, the Colorado Bigfoot. that was seen by a passenger or a tourist passenger train up there in Colorado. I forget the name. That was a big boost in the Bigfoot field. Wouldn't you say so there, William?
Well, this is the thing. Whenever you get into the whole cryptid subject, guys, and this is just my personal opinion, this is no way makes me the expert or anything, because in this field there is no experts.
Exactly.
There's only speculation and research results that you get, and but growing up around a very, very active cryptid area, being Native American, and picking wild grapes actually, and other blackberries and stuff next to family units of them, I can tell you that you need to separate the flesh and blood cryptids from the possibility of a supernatural entity like a trickster spirit, okay? Or otherwise known as an elemental.
Right.
So, and then you got to figure in too, you've got the hoaxers out there. And to me, this doesn't make any definitive proof whatsoever, because I've never, in my entire 60 plus years of dealing with the Bigfoot community and the forest people, Big Brother as we call them,
right?
I've never seen them come out in broad daylight, fully out in the open like they see there.
Yeah.
And and then sitting down. Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's just a little off.
What you think, Craig, from your intelligence background? Would you think this is a big hoax that was pulled, especially out in the open as it was?
I think the Colorado one was debunked, as in when they ran the video and zoomed in, the individual was wearing sunglasses, like Oakley shades, wraparounds.
Really?
So I'm thinking that it was somebody in a monkey suit just strolling along trying to make who knows? It could have been a promposal for all we know. But I'm not giving that one any credibility, because
exactly.
First, the daylight out in the wide open, strolling along on a path, and just the normal walking motion. It looked like a person in a monkey suit, as opposed to the original Bigfoot video of the creature going through the river and walking, because that had a very specific gait that was not human in nature.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all's input on that one. We're going to talk about this next one. This happened within the last couple of months of this year. There was a meteorite sighting over Ohio, and this spurred a lot of Bigfoot sightings in the community up there, where people were seeing daylight sightings of Bigfoot moving around after this meteorite. And we're not talking like just one or two. We're talking like family units in some cases, moving around during the daylight hours. Moving from one point to another, like they were trying to get out of the area. Like they foresensed something coming that was going to be horrible or something. Like how dogs and cats and other animals sometimes know when a bad storm is coming or something, or cows, and they move to get out of an area. This is supposedly what happened with these Bigfoots, that they were up there getting out of a danger zone. What do you think about that there, William?
Well, I can honestly tell you that a friend of mine that is in Ohio, a very good brother of mine, has covered this several times on his podcast, and I would say that probably it has the possibilities of happening, but at the scale and as numerous sightings that there was, I think there was 10 or 11 of them that were individual sightings.
Yeah.
And I would say probably about half of those were probably legitimate, and the other half was probably either based out of somebody seeing a shadow move, or pareidolia or something, in the woods, right, being out there. Right. I mean, it's something that, nature's always going to react quickly and erratically when it comes to significant environmental impact events.
Right.
whether it's floods, volcanic eruptions, meteors, the rivers drying up. So it's very, very possible. I'm just not convinced 100% that all of them were legitimate,
Okay.
because nobody really got any physical proof of it. Not that it matters anymore,
Right.
but you have to take into account too the disinformation specialists that are put into these certain areas of research that's been going on by civilians, to discredit the research. So
I understand that. What do you think there, Craig? You think this will make it in one of your books?
I tell you what, I watched a bunch of the videos of the meteors coming down, streaking through the sky and slamming into the ground, and chunks of meteor that they recovered. And overall, first, if I lived in Ohio, I would drink to excess all the time. And if I lived there and meteors slammed into the ground, I would then even excel at my drinking. I have a nice collection of single malt scotch, and I would do my best to go through it all before the end of life, end of days, as opposed to Pock Author. Meteors have a tendency to end things for people. So I actually read nothing on any cryptids. Everything I read was all about the meteors and the meteor strike.
Right.
And that's also alarming, because there was zero warning. It wasn't like, hey guys, there might be a meteor. You watch all the movies like,
Right.
oh hey, 2 weeks out, this meteor is coming, or this asteroid, and there was nothing. It was all of a sudden a meteor slams into the earth.
exactly. I agree.
What do you think, Ed?
Again, I'm just a sponge over here. I'm absorbing everything that they have to say. It's a lot to process, and there's a high level of faith even in something like this, like Craig was saying, and again, there can be a theological side of it, where maybe Ohio wasn't doing so good in that part, and fire and brimstone came down, and just is what it is. But I don't know.
I got you. No problem.
Well, what do you think about this, Norm? What do you think about this theory? What do you think about this theory?
All right.
When it comes to natural disasters in Ohio that would cause an influx of Bigfoot sightings, why wasn't there an influx of other wildlife?
That's a good question. There was no mention about other animals or wild animals being on the move. So maybe this was maybe this was on a different level.
Exactly. So, and then you also have to take in consideration too, guys, that what about the time when, I think it was Akron, Ohio, where the streams and the rivers were polluted with all the chemicals? Why wasn't there some kind of reaction then either? That's a very tragic event to happen on the environment.
Yeah. Didn't that river catch fire once or twice?
I believe so.
If I recall, that river caught fire once or twice because it was so bad. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to just see. But it was just an interesting footnote, because I think we mentioned it once on the show a little bit as a blurb, and it just seemed like an interesting fact, because you never heard of a Bigfoot exodus of the numbers of sightings that was going on in that period of time. We're going to move on to the next subject, which is still ongoing, which is the New Jersey drone sightings. Now, this is almost 2 years now that there is some drones, UFOs, UAPs, whether they're military, other government agencies, foreign governments, or extraterrestrials or interdimensional travelers. There's something going on around the Jersey area. I mean, there's been multiple sightings. There was even a crashed reconnaissance drone on one of the highways I seen pictures of a while back. I mean, that was greatly proven to be a reconnaissance drone. And there's been police helicopters chasing them. And it's just fascinating to some of these drones. And some of these drones are even seen being transmedium, going into or coming out of the water. All right, I'm going to start with you, Craig. What do you think about all this?
Well, I tell you what, drone technology has come a long way, and I'm not convinced that's extraterrestrial or extra dimensional in origin. I think that's us. I think that's humanity looking to cause a stir. Did you just see what they did off L.A. with the He-Man Master of the Universe display?
No, I didn't.
It's amazing what they can do with drones nowadays. Instead of fireworks displays, they're doing drones, and
I've
the
seen
drones
those.
do shapes in the sky. And they did like Skeletor and an inset of He-Man or something off L.A. unannounced. So everybody looked
Wow.
up in the sky, and it's like something out of Harry Potter. They're looking at a freaking skull out there, and that was all drones. So
Wow.
I'm not so sure. Drones are really hard, and the one that they did it either fell out of the sky or they knocked out of the sky was absolutely human in origin.
Right.
So
I
I think
remember seeing
that's
that one.
I think that's people playing games and maybe testing defenses if they're foreign nationals, or I mean it's Jersey. Who knows what's going on there?
True.
I mean besides good hot dogs.
Yeah. Because I have seen I've watched, was it Skinwalker Ranch? I've seen drones used in the hundreds for experiments out there. And it
Yeah.
was just amazing how they were using these drones to go up in like giant squares and rectangles, and how then they were using 3D imaging and everything else, how you'd see some of the patterns and some of the things that were just coming up from it. And yeah, I remember one of the drones that had crashed on the highway was one of our like reconnaissance drones, but it didn't look like a Reaper. I forget, it looked more like a Delta shape, but you know, it was a military drone. You could tell that. What about you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Skinwalker
Craig.
Ranch gives me the absolute willies. That place is just different and just weird. Is that's in Utah, isn't it?
I think so. I do
Yeah,
believe so.
yeah. So I have watched a number of episodes, but boy, that one gives me the willies because I don't think any of the answers, besides it creeps everybody out who goes there.
Mm-hmm. I'm still wait. I gotta catch up on one of the seasons yet. I've got them all, but the newest ones I gotta catch up yet. What about you there, William? What do you think?
As far as the drones over New Jersey, I tend to agree with what our friend said there, that odds are they have nothing to do with being alien inspired, otherworldly inspired. I think it was a testing ground, and a lot of the scuttlebutt going around too is that it was tested that way on the publics to see their response for what everybody calls Project Bluebeam.
Right.
And I think that when they saw that humanity didn't really respond in a way that out of being frightened, except for a very small percentage, that they just wanted answers and demanded answers. And of course, those answers never really came,
Right.
because, you know, whoever controls the narrative controls the story.
And then the few that said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to show you. I think I can hit this thing with my rifle." Type
Exactly.
idiots. Yeah. Yeah, there was a few. I watched one guy with a 22 rifle trying to shoot at one of these things, and I watched the bullet just arc out and go down. Like, yeah, you're not brilliant, are you?
Yeah, you're not going to get that kind of distance.
One of my favorite. This is the heat map of all those drone sightings there in Mammoth County, and they had quite a few. That was like one night. Do I got any more after that one, Ed? Okay. We're going to move on to the next one. This was my favorite topic from last year, the Miami Mall incident. Now, this is where allegedly 3 or more giant lizard-like entities portaled into the mall. I've seen some videos where portals were opening up inside the mall, into the parking area, and you couldn't fake this one video where when the portal opened, I literally seen somebody run out of their shoes. That's how scared they were because of this portal opening. I seen one portal open up and a person literally disappearing. And that, go back that one, please, just a minute. Ed. If you look at where the patrol cars are, you see that little blurry light is one of the entities that was walking outside. I think they said that thing was like 15 foot tall. And later was confirmed by Dade County Sheriff's deputy who told his son what happened, but he said he told his son not to say anything about it, but he leaked it anyhow. And then a lot of the people who originally said something recanted and then come back later and said, hey, we were told we couldn't speak about it, but yes, this stuff happened. Like a year later, they're coming clean about being told not to talk about this. So I'm going to lead with you there, Craig. What do you think about this? Now, this one here, before I get started, this is where the person literally ran out of their shoes. I tried to find the video clip I had, but it's disappeared from my computer. All right. I'm sorry,
bummer.
Craig.
Yeah, I actually, I have to say, admit ignorance here. This is the first I've heard of this, and I love it because those interdimensional portals, I think that's where Bigfoot comes from. Through interdimensional, because otherwise people have scoured and searched, and it's easy enough if they're not on the same plane as us, and all of a sudden they go through a transdimensional portal to come into our world to do whatever they want to do, observe or interact in some way, collect something that they need for their world that they can only find on ours, whatever it might be. But this right into the mall, hey, that sounds like some renegade troopers, and that's right in there for how any race would be. Not everybody is going to be disciplined enough to say, oh, the rules are don't transport, don't take the portal into where people are, and you have to wait until, and you go into remote areas. These three entities said, hey, we're not doing that. This sounds like too much fun. We're going right in the middle of all these people, and we're going to shock their socks off. And lo and behold, they did it.
This was on New Year's Day.
I will hunt these down. I will hunt down a video and try to get this. That is cool.
And like I said, when I seen the video, we had Jackie Chin as my co-host at the time, and you literally seen a person watch the portal open and run and left their shoes behind. You can't fake that. I don't care how hard you try. You can't fake that. Like in this video, you see the entity actually walking outside the mall, but they said, oh, that was a camera glitch. That's not a camera glitch. There's something physically there. What do you think, William?
I think that the Miami Mall incident was completely a legitimate incident. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
My research into portals and orbs have definitely pointed in the direction of being a way for beings that are much more advanced than us from a different density, whether you call it a dimension or a parallel world, to come through into the physical world of our world. They're going to come through in that manner, just like he mentioned about Bigfoot. And I will say this, that a lot of my research when it comes to Bigfoot is, my people have always called them trickster spirits, but I call them more on the lines of like the Druids used to do back in their old times and their days. They'd take a piece of wood and they'd hit the side of an oak tree to call forth the elemental from the tree to ask a favor of them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, what's to say that some of these beings aren't some of those same beings, but from a different dimension, a different timeline, a different, a different world. It doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily make them extraterrestrial. They could very well be terrestrial, just in a parallel, or, who was it? The one scientist, the Japanese scientist that recently said last year that multiple dimensions can operate within the same space and time. So what if this is just, say, another dimension that we are seeing with the inhabitants of that dimension that aren't human, and they're just coming through and bleeding through the veil.
Yeah, I believe it. And I believe that, like with the Bigfoot and portals, you know, I'm a big believer that portals is how Bigfoot gets around. Even when he disappears and reappears and people can't track him, he's disappearing through portals. He's portal jumping.
Yep.
But that's
I
my
agree.
opinion. All right, we're going to move on
Yep.
to one more, and that'll be it. And then any comments from there is, now it was called the Las Vegas alien incident, where a unidentified flying object landed and out came two alien beings that ran amok in the Las Vegas suburbs. Now there was pictures of them, door cam footage, and two Las Vegas police officers gave chase, had body cameras, and then out of the blue, black suburban U.S. government vehicles showed up and took over the scene. It made the officers and everybody sign NDAs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Craig, you ever hear about that one?
Oh, you bet. I watch those videos back and forth and forward and back, and you have to have your wits about you to see the entities as they're just standing there watching or coming into the backyard, whereas you wouldn't normally see them. So some kind of just blending. But I mean, that's ninja's been doing that for hundreds of years.
Right.
So did these aliens have just some kind of let's say not reflective gear that they're wearing, but
Right.
big heads, and geez, that was creepy as hell too. And so I think that one, as far as real goes, I put that one on. That was real. Something really happened there, and nobody has been able to give an explanation that is complete.
Exactly. I agree with that. I mean, we did a good video of them moving around the yard, and in some ways they had chimp-like movements and behavior. Like if you were going to create a hoax, you would do something to a chimpanzee, keep their mindset, elongate their body, and this is what their movements would look like in an alien body.
Yep.
But that was just a thought. What's your thoughts on this, William?
The Las Vegas incident, I definitely would put in the category of actually did happen. That it wasn't a hoax. That these people were legitimately scared for apparent reasons from seeing 10-foot tall entities in their backyard. Coming again, a giant coming from the sky. So, you know, same makeup as what they have happening in parts of South America when it comes to the indigenous people. So, you know, I don't believe it was a hoax. I don't believe it was they were lying or any way, shape, or form. I believe that it actually did happen.
Cool. I mean, but it was just amazing how fast the government response was with the black SUVs. That was interesting.
It's the time, Norm, when the government doesn't respond but makes it disappear that you need to worry.
Right. And they did make it kind of disappear with the NDA, especially with the police officers taking their body cams and everything else, but there was still footage somehow leaked about what was running around in those yards and all that, and people still talk regardless of what the government agents may or may not have said to them. So we're going to tie it up with this. And what do y'all think? Craig, what do you think about tonight's 100th episode, just going over a little bit of what we talked about, what we've seen, and overall what your thoughts are?
Oh, congratulations on 100 episodes of good conversation about anything beyond the veil. We get rooted too much in the real world and our own minor problems when there's much greater out there for us to explore, think about, see, and hopefully interact with at some point in time.
Cool. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll find this in a new series for you. Something about maybe going through a portal, chasing aliens. Might be an idea.
Absolutely.
William, what's your thoughts?
Well, I want to say thank you first off for getting me to come on. I'm sorry the camera wasn't working, but you don't want to see my. I got a radio voice and basically radio looks. So you don't want to see this mug on your TV. Trust me.
Hey,
But I appreciate being on here. I appreciate all the well thought out subjects, and it's like I always say, brother, we got to question everything in order to figure out what's going on in this world, because the physical world is so much different from what actually is happening all the time in this world.
isn't that true? Isn't that true? Well, William, thank you for coming. And Craig, you're always welcome to show up on the show when you got time. I appreciate both your gentlemen's time, your input, your contributions that you give to society. Craig, through your books, William, through your podcasting and what you do for the community as a whole, for podcasters and researchers into the cryptids and the paranormal. Both you guys, you make a big difference. You both made a big difference in my life, and I wouldn't probably be here if it wasn't for you guys. And once again, I want to tell you thanks, and especially being here on our 100th episode with Ed and I and sharing your thoughts. Ed, you got any words for our group?
Here's to 100 more.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Make it happen. Absolutely. And we'll continue our series of going through the other states with their cryptids, like Jersey Devil, and obviously the commonality of all the states with Bigfoot being seen everywhere, not just nationally, but internationally.
Definitely. All right, folks, we're going to sign off here from Pickens, South Carolina at the Marketplace Mill. This is Norman and Ed wishing you good luck, good day. Watch the skies, folks. Might see something. Good night.